What's going on, everyone? Trevor Hansen with the Wake Channel. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content so far. I've been thinking about some stuff that we want to show you guys, and one of the biggest things, lots of people have gotten up on a wakeboard, but not everyone knows how to get somebody up for the first time. So today I think we're going to walk through a little tutorial on how to show that person that's never been on a wakeboard before how to do it, the steps that you take, and just kind of walk you through the process of how to teach someone to get up for the first time. So when you're showing someone how to get up for the first time, you want to get them sitting down either on the boat or the dock, and then you want to pretend that you're the boat. So the easiest way is just to give them the handle, and what you're trying to get them to understand is that you're going to do all the work, that they're not going to do any of the work. So what I want you to do, Kai, is I'm going to pull, and I want you just to keep your arms straight and your knees bent and let your butt slide to your heels as I pull you up, okay? So here we go. On the boat, keep the arms straight. There you go, just like that. That was perfect. One of the most important things when you're teaching someone how to get up is to know what they're doing wrong, so that you know how to correct it. One of the things that you'll see right away is kids will try to stand up too fast without getting their center of gravity over top of the board. So if I start to pull on Kai and she tries to bend her arms like that and tries to stand up, she just did all the work, I didn't do anything. And if I let go, she's gonna fall backwards. So the whole goal is you want to do 100% of the work. You wanna pull your rider up off the dock. So what has to happen is their butt has to come forward to their heels, and then as they stand up, I can let a little bit of line tension off and they're still standing and they're not gonna fall backwards. As you've got your rider on the back of the boat or on the dock and you're trying to pull them up for the first time, a couple things to look for are to make sure that they're keeping their arms straight. You don't want them to pull in at all. You want to do all the work for them, so keeping that arm straight so that they're not in a tug-of-war match with you, that's super important. Make sure that their knees stay bent the entire time, and that as they slide that butt forward, their knees are coming up into their chest and they're getting in like a deep squatted crouch position. Another thing is make sure that they're not rounding their shoulders too much and that they're not rolled forward. Just nice and tall in the chest, shoulders back and arms straight. So after you get your rider comfortable standing up a few times and they feel like they've got the process where they're letting you pull them up and they're nice and balanced once they're standing up, the next step is to figure out what foot forward they are. A lot of times you can find out just by asking what hand they write with, which way they skateboard or snowboard if they've done one of those activities in the past. But sometimes you'll run into an instance where they just don't know, and that's fine. In that case, I would just let it work itself out. As soon as they get up on top of the water, their instinct is going to kick in, and they're probably going to make the turn one way or the other anyway. But I'll show you how to fix it if for some reason it doesn't happen. So when you're trying to determine what foot forward they are and you're trying to get them to actually turn that way, once they're up on top of the water, they're going to have the handle right here in the middle, and all you want them to do is slightly pull that handle to the right or left hip depending on which foot forward they want to be. So if they're right foot forward, they're going to pull that handle down into the right hip and turn their shoulders, their right shoulder towards the boat. That's going to happen pretty naturally. It sounds like it's something that's complicated that's not going to happen, but it happens pretty naturally when you're out there on the water. All right, so now pull the handle to your right hip, turn your body just like that, bend your knees, keep your eyes up at me. Perfect. Some things to look for when you're practicing with the people either on the back of the boat or on the dock is to make sure that they're doing everything correctly and that they don't have any mistakes. So the biggest goal is to make sure that they're standing up with as little effort as possible. You actually want to pull them up. And when you're doing that, look for their arms to be straight, shoulders tall and back, and knees super bent, and make sure that their butt slides all the way forward. If you see them bending their arms, that means that they're trying to pull themselves up too much, and that's not what you want. If you see them leaning back too much, that's not what you want. And then the same thing if they're trying to pull themselves too far forward, that's not what you want. So just keep an eye out for those things as you're helping them get up. When you've got the rider down in the water and you're getting up off of the platform, that's one of the best areas to really emulate what's going to happen, because they're sitting so far down in the water and you're above them and the angle's just right and they're uncomfortable because they're in the water. So it's the best feeling. So being able to get them to bend their knees enough and create enough tension for them so that they can keep their arms straight and you to actually pull them up on top of the platform. If you can get them to see what it feels like to come up out of the water and get on the platform with their knees bent and in that riding position, they're ready to go. If you're physically not able to pull that person up on the water, there's a couple of things. One, they might just be too big of a person. If you're trying to get a full-size adult up out of the water, it can be very hard to have enough strength to actually pull them up out of the water. so that drill might not work for them. But if it's a younger kid and you're having a hard time getting them up out of the water, it's an indication that they're fighting you too much and that they're actually straightening their legs or that they're leaning back. Because if they're in the right body position, it should be fairly easy for you to pull them up. But like I said, if it is a full-size adult or someone that's a little bit larger, it's gonna be difficult to get them up on top of the water, or sorry, up on top of the platform, so that drill might not work. One trick that you definitely want to utilize the first time that they get up is make the rope super short. You can even use a wake surf rope if you want to. Make it super short, maybe 5 feet behind the platform. You want it so short that they like almost can't even get up and ride once they're actually on top of the water. The whole point of that is to get that upward pull from the tower so that they can understand how they get up and out of the water. Because once they get up and on top of the water for the first time, they understand how to get up. So once that happens once, then you can lengthen the rope out another 20 or 30 feet and teach them how to do it from there. There's a couple really common mistakes that kids or people use when they're getting up for the first time. One is that they straighten their legs too much. You'll be able to tell that their legs are too straight if they're either plowing water and there's a bunch of spray, or if as soon as they pop up, they immediately fall forward. That means that their legs were too straight and they just weren't getting their knees bent. Another really common mistake is leaning back too far. You'll be able to tell that if they don't ever get up on top of the water. If as soon as that line gets tight, you find that they're just popping the handle, or all you see is just a rider basically submarining under the water back there. They're leaning back and they're not letting their chest and their butt and hips get up and over the board, and the board's not getting on top of the water. Another mistake that people make are keeping their arms too bent or pulling up with their arms. If they're trying to get up and your arms are way up here, it's really hard to get your center mass over the board. You'll be a little bit too far back on your heels, and you just won't ever get comfortable. So make sure that the riders have got their arms straight and they're down by their hips. So once the rider is actually up on top of the water, you want to make sure that you get them in a good riding position. So just tell them to be comfortable. It's a real relaxed position. Bend your knees, chest up, your hands should be just down by your waist and just kind of hanging out right there by your front hip, and just try to relax. One thing that I always tell people when they're up there, your safety mechanism is your knees. So if you ever feel like you're in trouble or you want to do something or change something, just bend your knees more. One of the tricks that I use when I'm teaching kids is I actually yell at them while they're getting up. It's a friendly reminder. The most important thing for most kids is to bend their knees. They can't bend their knees too much. The more low that they can get down to the board, the easier it's going to be to get that board up on top of the water. So a lot of times as I'm starting to take off as the driver, I'll just be yelling, bend your knees, bend your knees, bend your knees, as a reminder to help them bend their knees and actually get up on top of the board. Another one of the biggest keys to getting up a beginner is to be patient. It takes time sometimes. You got to run through these drills quite a few times to help get that muscle memory and just help them understand. As the driver or the coach that's helping someone, try to give it some encouragement. Just let them know that they're doing a good job. The more frustrated that the rider gets, if they're not getting it, the harder it'll be for them to get up. So just kind of help recognize what they're doing wrong. If you see something and you recognize that it's their arms are bent or their legs are straight, just give them that feedback and just keep practicing with them until they get it. They'll get it eventually. And there's pretty much no greater joy than getting someone up for the first time. It'll be something that you'll be hooked on, and you'll be looking for all the neighborhood kids to go out and take for their first ride. It's one of the best ways to have fun out there on the water, getting someone new. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that you're able to get a ton of people up this summer. See you out there.